Hey everyone, it's Mo from Hockey for Youth Foundation, and we're here today at the United by Hockey Mobile Museum with a very special guest, Mr. Eric Knight, who's been traveling around all North America, taking this amazing mobile museum around to show people that hockey really does have the power to unite. Eric, thanks for being with me today.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, so tell us more about the museum. This is great.
What we have here is basically, as you mentioned, the NHL United by Hockey mobile experience. As people kind of come through, we break it into several categories. The trailblazers, those are the people that did it first. They're out of the gate. The people like Lil Ree and Angela James. Then we move on to the changemakers. They kind of pick up the puck from the trailblazers and kind of run with it. So they pick up the game. We have the business of hockey. Let's talk about the management side, which we really don't think about when hockey, but somebody has to make it all work. And then of course we have collecting hockey history. Those hockey fans that kind of collect hockey cards, whatever their favorite player are. So as people kind of come through, they learn about the diversity in the game of sports, the blacks in hockey, women in hockey, LGBT, Cubans, Hispanics, Indigenous, and basically highlighting the further diversity in the sport of hockey.
This is fantastic. So Eric's going to take us through the museum. We're going to look at a few things together. So come on in.
Absolutely. Welcome. Watch your steps there, sir. As you kind of come in, basically you'll see different videos and artifacts of many of the players. Some of the artifacts actually belong to the players. Some of it's on loan from the Hockey Hall of Fame. But it's a good overview. So usually what happens is we kind of go back and probably start with pretty much a well-known guy, Willie O'Ree. He's the first black to enter into the National Hockey League. He comes in with the Boston Bruins, January 18th, 1958. Plays two back-to-back games, Boston versus Montreal. Willie is in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's very much alive. He works for the National Hockey League. He goes around to a lot of the youth organizations from time to time. As you kind of go forward, we have Herb Carnegie, just went into the Hockey Hall of Fame last year. Now, many people may not know about Herb Carnegie, but Herb Carnegie got a chance to play with his brother, Ozzie Carnegie, man in McIntyre. They had a whole front line back in the 1930s for the Quebec Aces. Herb Carnegie actually had a tryout with the New York Rangers, but unfortunately did not make the team. But they're considering, they say he's basically one of the best black players to never actually get the opportunity to play in the National Hockey League, kind of like the Negro Baseball Leagues. They were a lot better, but never got the opportunity. Of all the black players, of course, probably the most well-known is, of course, Grant Fuhr. Grant Fuhr was the goaltender for the great Gretzky. So he's the first black inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. As we kind of go forward, talking about that. Larry Kwong right here. We had the first player of Asian descent to play in the National Hockey League. I had the opportunity to meet his great nephew earlier. So this is his sweater. As you can tell back then, it's kind of a little worn for wear, but also attributing for that particular time in the 40s and 50s, it was actually a sweater. They're playing outside. They want to be kept warm. So most of those sweaters were actually made of wool, not like the jerseys that they wear today, which are much lighter. But as times change, equipment changes as well.
That's fantastic. I want to jump in here and talk about Willie, because I've known Willie for 15 years.
Wow.
I've had the pleasure of traveling with him all around the country and into the U.S.
Sure.
And he's such an amazing speaker, and it's so awesome that he was inducted. He is inducted. He is a Hall of Famer. And then interesting with Herb Carnegie, so my connection to the Carnegie family is I'm one of the recipients of the Herb Carnegie Trailblazer Award, which was just handed out for the first time at the Carnegie Summit here in Toronto in January. So that's my connection to Bernice. I never got a chance to meet Herb.
No.
And then Larry, what's interesting about Larry is we're running a campaign right now to get Larry inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, because the history, and you would know this, his history is more than that one shift with the
absolutely,
Rangers.
absolutely.
So these three, I always say that Larry's the missing teammate and line mate of Willie and Herb in the Hall of Fame. So hopefully, that happens in a couple of weeks. We'll see. But
and even with Willie, I mean, he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, but people don't realize there's several designations that you get into the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's not all goals and assists and, basically being the greatest player. So Willie goes in the category as a builder.
Yes.
Basically promoting the game. Same thing with Herb Carnegie. What he's done to inspire the youth to kind of play the game. And there was a huge push, like you're trying to get for Larry Kwong. There was a huge push to get Willie into the Hockey Hall of Fame. There was a petition. It was a whole to-do, and rightfully so, because a lot of players aren't recognized. Sure, you have the Gretzkys, you have the Lemieux, you have the great players, but there are a whole lot of other people that are contributing to the game that may not necessarily be on the radar, and it's for people like us to kind of bring that to their attention.
Absolutely.
As we go forward, Al Montoya, first Cuban-American to play in the National Hockey League. I got to meet him a couple cities ago.
Dallas.
Dallas, yep, because he now works for Dallas.
He works for Dallas.
And we happened to be in Dallas for Game 3, right outside the arena. So I got a chance to talk with him as well. There's always been a controversy. Can girls play hockey? Can women play hockey? So, of course, we have Angela James, the first black woman inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. at the peak of her career, they referred to her as the Wayne Gretzky of women's hockey. So once again, another pioneer that we have at that time. So this is her medal. This is her jersey. Mm-hmm. Going forward, moving up into the broadcast booth, we have Everett Fitzhugh. He's one of the first of our African-American broadcasters. He's with the Seattle Kraken, a fairly new team, but making great waves in the hockey field. They made the playoffs this year, didn't get too far, but they had their chance.
I saw this guy earlier.
Absolutely, Val James. And see, this is always a trick question that I have for the young adults to come, because I mentioned Willie O'Ree as the first black in the National Hockey League. And then I tell them about Val James, first black American born and then to appear in the National Hockey League game. And I ask the kids, how is that possible? Willie's first, Val James is first. How can they both be first? The distinction is that Willie O'Ree is Canadian.
Yes.
Val James is African American. So he's the first African American. And so therefore, Val James had an opportunity to play for Toronto and play for Buffalo as well. Another famous player, Jerome McGinley, six-time All-Star. Won 2 gold medals at the Olympics playing for Team Canada. Unfortunately, never got the chance to win a Stanley Cup. He's just recently been hired by the Calgary Flames as an advisor and a consultant at that time. Moving right on, kind of into the business of hockey, a lot of players, after they're done their playing games, they kind of find a different role for them to stay involved in the hockey. One of them would be Kevin Weeks, who was one of the announcers, and these are his goalie pads. Can you imagine trying to lift those, trying making those great saves? You definitely get some strong legs. But as equipment goes, it's a lot lighter now. It's a lot faster. They've changed some of the rules to make it a much faster game as well. Another former player, Anson Carter. He's currently with that NHL TNT. So if you're following the Stanley Cup playoffs, chances are you'll get to hear Kevin Weeks and Anson Carter give you the commentary. Mike Greer, former player, is now the first black general manager of the San Jose Sharks.
Kim Davis, who you talked about the NHL and having executives. Without Kim, a lot of these changes that
basically
a lot of us that have been working in the industry have been waiting for a long time.
Absolutely, and creating those jobs, filling, like you said, filling that void that isn't there. Who basically makes sure that the game is diverse and stays inclusion, and basically roll something like this out to the community so they can see these are the great things that the players are doing. Here we have Amrit Guril, first female broadcaster. Yeah. Happens to be right here coming by. So as we travel, you get to meet some of the players, get to move some of the backstories. We have these great videos that kind of give you see the players in action at that time. Talking Toronto, can't leave out Austin Matthews, first Mexican-American heritage, playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They had a good run this year. Hopefully they'll make adjustments, go a little further next year.
We're not going to talk about that.
All right. Over here we have Sarah Nurse, 2 gold medals with Team Canada. This is her stick. She's also the cousin of Darnell Nurse. Another member of the family plays with the WNBA, and they're related to Donovan McNabb. Anthony Duclair with the Florida Panthers, still hanging in there. They're down 2 goals to none, going back to Florida. See how they can do.
Sarah's been a great partner of the Hockey for Youth
she came
Foundation. CCM released a gold medal stick last summer, and the proceeds from the sale of that gold medal stick came to Hockey for Youth Foundation, and it was there to commemorate her record-breaking performance at the Olympics, and that's why they released it. Not only the gold medal.
Wow,
so she's a great community builder and
absolutely
always giving back, always wanting to get involved with many different organizations.
Sure,
she's fantastic.
And a while back they started a professional women's league. It was called the National Women's Hockey League, and here we have the Metropolitan Riveters. This is their jersey. But as on occasion through a Black History Month, what they did is they decided to make that jersey, that logo, a woman of color. Now, these specialty jerseys are auctioned off. They're not for sale. I've been trying to buy one for forever. But what happens, they come out, they auction them off, and they go to some type of charity to kind of support the team as well.
That's great.
Here we have Gabby Graves-Wake. Basically, when you think ice hockey, you think about, skating and all that other. But sometimes they're veterans and they may have a war injury. They lose their limbs, but they still have a love for the game. So they have the para ice hockey team. They have the sled Olympics, things like that. And I've also heard about blind hockey kind of taking a hold right now.
Yeah,
so it's basically a little bit of everything, kind of expanding the game on several different levels as well.
Yeah. We know Bridget Lacquette. We've just profiled her the other day on our social media. And, making waves and being First Nations hockey player, it's really important, especially in Canada, to have more First Nations players and representation, whether it's Jordan Judu or Bridget.
Sure.
It's fantastic.
A couple cities back, I had the chance to meet her parents and kind of talk to them a little about, her upbringing and how she's doing, that type of thing.
Yeah.
When we were in Nashville, I had the opportunity to meet PK Subban. They were honoring him at the Nashville Predators game. He came on the trailer, signing autographs, posing for pictures.
PK's great. I worked with his dad, Carl, for a few years he's principal up in the north part of the city. And so that was one of the first schools that I worked in the Jane and Finch. And I walk in one day and Carl's in full scrubs. And he says, "Sir, I'm out here healing the kids today. Healing the kids." That's what I mean. He just kept walking down the hallway. But just personality and an educator for life.
Sure, absolutely.
Really inspiring a lot of kids, but being there for the kids, which is what's important.
Sure, absolutely. As I heard, another one piggyback is that they always say in reference to a parent, you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be present.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's very important. Spending that quality time. The money's the gifts. That's all well and fine. But putting in that quality time where you make that connection makes it well. Got to meet Matt Nieto when we were down in Colorado. He just recently got traded to San Jose. And I asked him. I said, "Well, did you know you were going to get traded?" He says, "Yeah, I pretty much figured out much." I says, "Okay, well, who called you?" Because Mike Greer's the first black general manager. He says, "Oh, I was out. My friends might call me. I pretty much knew what it was about." So he gets traded from San Jose to Colorado. Colorado goes into the playoffs. But he had already played for Colorado prior to that, so it was a win-win for him at that time.
And then we know both of these guys. We know Dean and we know Chris.
Right.
Chris has been instrumental in the Larry Kwong campaign for the Hockey Hall of Fame. And of course, Dean and I have connected. We wanted to get a program going up in Milton, superintendent here in Toronto, well, I guess in the York School Board. But these guys are doing some great work as well.
Sure.
This is awesome.
When we were in California, we had an opportunity to meet Connor and Ethan and Brendan collecting their cards as well and hearing their stories.
Yeah, which is great.
That's it.
This is awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming by.